Welcome back. This is not clickbait. I am actually very glad that Joy Reid was fired from Msnbc. And I'll be very candid with you. I was not a big Joy Reid show watcher. Not because I didn't think she was good. It was just that her type of programming were topics and things that I already knew about. And based upon her format of her show, I didn't learn all that much from her. However, I do know quite a few people that liked her show, that learned a lot from her. And I felt that just because it wasn't what I viewed regularly doesn't mean it's not important. We have to get away from it. If it doesn't matter to me, it doesn't matter. That's not how this works. So I'm saying this from a very independent point of view, that I'm glad she was fired, because now I believe she can be unfiltered Joy Reid. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. I live in a blue state, in a blue county, in a blue town. In my town, there are several social justice, equity-focused groups. One group in particular that has been around for multiple decades has taken the position, or positions, I should say, over the years of being focused on equity, justice for issues of race, religion, LGBTQ issues, the whole progressive nine. Okay. And through all that, I was always confused, because certain things have happened in town where this organization was actually not as vocal as you would expect it to be based upon its own marketing. Let me give an example. Several years ago, during a 4th of July event, several young Black boys, teenagers, were walking home from the event. And while they were walking home, they were stopped by police. The police asked them, "Where are you going?" And the boys mentioned they were going home, which seems normal, but the police did not believe them. There are several towns adjacent to the one where I live in that are predominantly African American. And so the cops assumed that these young men lived in those towns. Therein lied the problem. And so the cops began to escort these young men out of the town they lived in into a town where they didn't. And when the young men started to attempt to go to their own homes, they were met with force. This was caught on video, but it was kept pretty quiet. A few people knew because the boys had shared their story with some of their teachers at their high school. So the story was getting around, and I was wondering, and my kids were not in high school at the time, so I was not quite in that ecosystem of information. But it seemed serious enough for me to start asking some questions. This group in town, which had been marketing itself as equity-based group on issues of race and other protected classes and groups, did not appear to be saying anything in particular that I found to be what an advocate would do. And I wondered why. This seemed pretty simple. Then I found out that this same organization received funding from the very town that we live in. So it all started to make sense. The reason this organization was not taking a forward position, was not speaking about the truth of what happened, was related to the fact that the same entity that paid the cops was paying this group. And you're not going to bite the hand that feeds you. So What does all this mean in the context of Joy Reid? It means that Joy, despite all the truth she spoke, was probably being held back to some extent because the corporate mainstream media is not a progressive group of people. They've got to play to their sponsors, they've got to play to their shareholders, and now they got to play to the president of the United States. I'm curious, to be quite honest with you, and I don't think anyone's asked this question of MSNBC, but if I were a reporter, if I were a media person, I would ask MSNBC leadership, did you receive a phone call from the White House or someone White House adjacent to terminate Joy Reid from your network? Again, I don't watch Joy's show on a regular basis, but I know she's been extremely critical of Trump over the years, and rightfully so. And so I wonder if that was a motivator for MSNBC. Again, maybe someone's asked that question. I just haven't seen it asked and answered. Because if that's the case, then MSNBC is compromised, just like the group I told you about. And because of that compromise, Joy has not been able to speak her truth over the years. But now she's freed from that. I watched a segment on Roland Martin's show. He's definitely untethered. And in my view, when you look at what he's done, when you look at what Don Lemon is doing, when you look at people like Joe Madison, who was passed, those voices are important, even if they don't all agree. Let me say that again. Those voices are all important, even if they don't all agree. Because there is no scenario in any way, shape, or form will a group of people, Black people, whatever, are all going to be on the same page about every topic. But we need these voices because our points of view are vast. They're different amongst genders, amongst generations, amongst economic classes. So every one of the people I mentioned and people I haven't mentioned have a direct line to a group of us. And we need that voice unfiltered when at all possible. At this point, I would view corporate media as a training ground of sorts, a place to cut your teeth, get some experience. But everyone should have the goal of establishing their own platform. I mean, thankfully, Joy has a following already. So technically speaking, she can take that following onto a different platform like YouTube, like Don Lemon has done, like Roland Martin has done. Maybe she'll get a show on satellite radio with Karen Hunter and all those folks. I don't know. But I'm glad that she's out of the confines of MSNBC. Back in the day, there was the Black media of the North Star, the Defender, Chicago Defender, Ebony, Jet, all these different magazines, newspapers that gave us unfiltered news about us, about topics that impacted us, about action plans that we should implement. We still need that, even more so today. And now that the landscape has such a low bar of entry to reach a lot of people quickly, that's why I'm glad that Joy, again, has been fired from MSNBC. Because now she can be who she really is, who she really wants to be. without the corporate mainstream overseers tapping on her shoulder when she gets out of line. So, what does all this mean? What it means is there are now more opportunities for us. So, for example, if Joy starts her own platform, she's going to need some production. She can now hire the people she wants to hire for that production, right? Male, female, otherwise, Black, Asian, whatever. It's her decision to do so. She is now in the power position. And that's what we should be focusing on, is where do we wield the most power to provide our talents, our intellect to our people. If I have her quote right, I think she says something to the effect of, life is not over and her voice is not silenced. Completely true. So go out, encourage her to support the idea, or to think about the idea, or to implement the idea that she start her own platform and not just land someplace else like a CNN or anywhere else. We need unfiltered, unvarnished joy. Just like we need any Black voice who has shown us and demonstrated that they do the work, that they know what they're talking about, and that they're providing us with information. They're providing us with education. They're providing us with an action plan. They're providing us with a pathway to determine our own strategy. They're providing us with the ability to make informed decisions about things that impact us as Black people. Because everybody else out there, they just want your eyeballs. People like Joy, Roland, Karen Hunter, Clay Kane, others, they're trying to edify us in a way where we can become better at what we do, at what we know. And that's why I'm glad that Joy Reid was fired. Good luck to her. And to you, I say, be well.